So, in less than 24 hours, one of the guys I follow here on YouTube, one of the most well-renowned YWCers, Alyx Hicks, known as just Alyx, formerly known as the Lex Man, will be releasing or live streaming a video he did, or he's going to be doing, talking about, in his opinion, who he sees as the top 10 WWE stars that are AEW bound in 2022. Now, here's the thing about this video. It's probably going to get a lot of likes, there's no doubt, but it's also going to get a lot of people talking. And it's going to get a lot of people talking from a back and forth perspective. Because right now, as we speak, there are several current WWE NXT stars whose contracts are up within the next few weeks. Johnny Gargano's is up, was originally up tomorrow, will be up on the 10th, a week later. Now, this does give them plenty of time, if Johnny doesn't want to resign, to basically write him off WWE television so he could be AEW bound, maybe in time for the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal at Winter is Coming, or for the first TBS show of Dynamite in 2022. So he'll have plenty of time. If he decides to go to Winter is Coming and take part in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal, then hey, that's just 6 days after he leaves, a week after he's pretty much done with the company. Or if he decides to take a bit of a break, be there for his wife Candice LeRae when she gets ready to give birth, then maybe we won't necessarily see him until, like I say, the first Dynamite on of the TBS era in 2022, or maybe even Battle of the Belts. It all depends. The same goes for Kyle O'Reilly. His contract is up towards the end of the month, and basically a lot of fans are hoping that he is AEW bound. I mean, they are dropping a lot of hints that we're going to get some kind of like Elite versus Undisputed Era feud in AEW. And a lot of fans feel that with all these hints being dropped, and references being dropped to the UE, as they call them, that it's only inevitable it's going to happen. And it just may. We don't know. However, reports are coming out from very reliable sources like Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com that WWE is doing everything they can to try to re-sign these two athletes. That includes having Shawn Michaels talk to Johnny and maybe even talk to Kyle. Now, it's totally up to both of them if they do stay. Some feel that Kyle is the most likely out of the two to probably leave, while Johnny's the most likely to probably stay. My assumption, and I've said this before, is I believe Gargano will probably stay at least until after his wife gives birth, so that they have a little bit of financial security going forward. So then if he decides to finally leave, he won't have nothing to hold him back, and he'll be able to do so. End of discussion. The reason fans would want Kyle to leave instead of stay is because they want Red Dragon back together in AEW, as well as they want the Undisputed Era in AEW to feud with the Elite, because, as I mentioned, there's a lot of hints being dropped that potentially could be the direction they go in the next couple of months when we enter 2022. Now, there are other names as well that he's going to be listing off. Tommaso Ciampa, who's the current NXT champion, is possibly on his way to AEW. Although, according to Sean Ross Sapp, because of injuries, his contract has been extended further into 2022. Now, how far it is into 2022 of being extended, it's hard to say. There are other guys and gals that could potentially be AEW bound in 2022. One of them, obviously, is Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Kevin Steen. A lot of people feel that he'll be AEW bound, and, with him being AEW bound at the end of January into February, mostly in time for Revolution, that he will probably reunite with the Bucks and Adam Cole to create Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore was a stable that they had in PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And that potentially could happen if they can't get Kyle O'Reilly to come on over and he decides to stay with WWE. Other names potentially that could be heading over there in the eyes of fans like Alyx are Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotundo, Keith Lee, potentially, and maybe even Shane Taylor. And who knows, if those two get back together, that's a big boy tag team, if you know what I mean, that could really strengthen, to a literal extent, the tag team division, beef it up, if you will, to literal means, in AEW. Now, there could be that. Keith Lee, like I said, could be a name. Mia Yim could be another name. There's a bunch of names right now that have to wait out their 90-day deals or the 90-day non-compete clause before they can jump. The reason a lot of people look at Johnny and Kyle as being more legitimate of getting over there more quicker is because they will allow, the contracts to expire. And if they stay, by signing extensions, well, then that means after the extension is done, they are free. They don't have nothing holding them back. Very similar to Adam Cole. Adam Cole stayed to finish out his program with Kyle O'Reilly. Then he ended up being in AEW about less than a week later at All Out. The thing is though, when I look at a video like this or a live stream upcoming like this, by someone like Alex Hicks, just Alex, like I mentioned, it's going to get people talking. But what it is with Alex is he's a very diehard wrestling fan. And guys like him, Solomonster, JD, to an extent, longtime fans like myself, Jeff Siegel, the Swag Daddy of OTRS Central, and several others, we love wrestling. There is no doubt about it. We love professional wrestling. We love the sports entertainment aspect of wrestling when done right and thus, allowed to make some sense. We love wrestling, and we want to see a lot of these, and we want to see a lot of men and women that we feel have the potential, we could see have the potential to be great, to get that opportunity. So when you see someone like Alex, doing this video or doing this live stream on this topic, all he's doing is giving his own opinion on who he believes is bound for All Elite Wrestling. This also basically jives into what I've talked about before. Alex is one of those wrestling fans that, to an extent, still loves WWE, even though he'll criticize them for some of the stupidity of decisions that they make. He still wants to see them improve. He wants them to get better. And he sees a lot of shining beacons all around that company from his point of view that could, be capitalized on to really bring WWE back to its prominence that it once was. But because he hasn't seen that yet, or the fact that WWE refuses to do that period, he's going to support a company like AEW. Because, as I was saying, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, Alex falls into that category of fans that are rebelling. They are rebelling against WWE because they're sending a message of, hey, you want us to continue to support you? You want to win us back? You want us to stop rebelling against you? Guess what you do? Get better. Stop underutilizing talent that could help you take it to the next level, get better. And, that's why you see people like Alex, doing videos like this, or potentially doing videos like this, because they're giving their opinion on who they feel will be better off in a company that would, as he would put it, appreciate them more, give them more opportunities. And I'm not denying that AEW wouldn't give someone like Johnny Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly, Tommaso Ciampa, Kevin Owens, a.k.a. Kevin Steen, Keith Lee, I'm not saying that it wouldn't give them opportunity to shine. I mean, look at Ruby Soho, the former Ruby Riott. you know, she's on the verge, very closely on the verge, if they decide to do it, to pull the trigger, of becoming the inaugural AEW TBS champion, which is the women's division's secondary title next to the women's world title currently held by Britt Baker. She's on the verge of doing that. She is on the verge of doing that. And to me, if they decide to pull the trigger and give her that opportunity, then it shows that AEW does value these men and women who wrestle elsewhere, like WWE, like Impact, to an extent PWG, who, don't normally get an opportunity to shine. Now here they are getting that opportunity. But again, like I said, these are just opinions from fans like Alyx, and what he's going to be possibly, bringing up as reasonings for these men and women to, potentially, if not, legitimately jump over to AEW. I mean, he looks at someone like Kevin Owens, and he's like, WWE did everything they could with this guy. He's been the Universal Champion. He's been the Intercontinental Champion, the U.S. Champion. He's pretty much done it all. He's been the NXT Champion. He's pretty much done it all. But yet, Alyx looks at somebody like Kevin Owens. It feels that there could be more done with him. That WWE has an opportunity in front of them to do more, to reinvent themselves, and Kevin Owens could be that key to them reinventing themselves. But they're not taking it. They're not taking it. And a lot of people, and even Alyx will admit it, there's no doubt Alyx will touch upon this in the video, that Kevin Owens being put into the day one main event for the WWE Championship between Big E and Seth Rollins, making it a three-way dance triple threat, it's just WWE's way of either protecting Rollins and E so that Owens will be the one that takes the pin since he's on his way out at the end of the month, or it's their way of trying to butter up to him and say, see, we're putting you back in the main event picture. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Stay here. And, that there is honestly a very old school business tactic that's done by all kinds of businesses, sports related or not. It is an old school business tactic of buttering up the person that wants to leave and go elsewhere because they feel they have opportunity better wherever they want to go. It's an old school tactic to keep them around. If you suddenly decide, hey, we're going to invest in you now, we're going to let you be what you want to be, but only for a tiny bit, but we're not going to tell them, that kind of deal. And again, I'm sure Alyx will touch upon it. And even he'll be like, this is so stupid. This is so ridiculous. We know they're not going to give him the title. And if they do, they're only doing it to butter him up. That'll be about it. That would be about it. You look at someone like Johnny Gargano, and a lot of people be like, well, if he goes to AEW, he could get lost in the shuffle. That is true. He could get lost in the shuffle. But with a lot of contracts in the AEW coming up, and maybe Tony Khan, if he is business savvy as we think he is, basically, if Tony Khan decides, you know what, I have my roster's too big, and everything, and I want to keep some of you, but I also want to bring in some of these guys and gals that want opportunity, maybe he'll make room. Maybe he'll make room. And because of personal medical reasons, they already lost Big Swole. That opens up a hole in the women's division that, let's say, Mia Yim could fill. But if they want Johnny Gargano, then yeah, they can get him. There's no doubt they could get him. But the thing is, would he get lost in the shuffle, as some people put it? And that is a good question. And this is why sometimes you hear a lot of fans, whether the defenders of WWE or they basically are a fan of wrestling in general, kind of encouraging the fact that Johnny should stay with WWE at least for a little while until things calm down over at the AEW side. Like there's less of a roster, than there is right now. But then again, you have fans that probably, are fans of wrestling overall that are opposed to that. And they're like, yeah, we get what you're saying. But imagine Johnny against Danielson. Imagine Johnny against Fish. Imagine Johnny against Omega. And that's the thing. And that's one thing I know Alyx is going to touch upon in his video. He's going to talk about the potential matchups. Because that's what really fans look at AEW as. And I hate to say it because, it is a fact that a lot of fans, they only look at AEW and the potential of bringing in all these other men and women wrestlers, superstars to the company because they want their dream matches, and they know Tony Khan, being a fan himself, will inevitably give them those matches, if not right away. It's like if fans, decide, for example, it's like if Gargano was to show up. If Gargano was to show up in the Diamond Dynamite Battle Royal, even if he doesn't win, and let's say he comes face to face with Punk. You can't tell me fans will be like, give us Gargano and Punk, give us Gargano and Punk, give us Gargano and Punk. Because they would. And that's the thing. That's why, a lot of fans want to see these men and women leave WWE. Even if they do remain, much to their chagrin, they want them to go because they just want, even if it's one time, they just want those matches. That's it. It's like, just give us Gargano Danielson, we'll be happy. And that's it. Or just give us Ciampa and Omega, we'll be happy. And that's it. That's all it really is. And like I said, Alyx is going to touch upon this. He's going to touch upon a lot of this when he mentions the 10 wrestlers that he feels are going to leave WWE and go to AEW in 2022. He is. He's going to touch upon it. There's no doubt. Now, will I agree and everybody else agree with some of these potential jumpers? Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind and in the mind of any of you listening that whoever he lists off, and he's got a freaking thumbnail already set up, kind of giving you an idea of who he's going to talk about, that, there is not one. There's not one man, one superstar on that, man or woman, that, again, you can't agree, you cannot just stand here and not agree with the fact that, yeah, I could see them going over to AEW. I can see them going there. And you can't blame them. You can't blame them for thinking that. But it's one of these situations, though, with a video like this, that I highly recommend you guys watch it. Whether it's a live stream or it's a pre-recorded video, I highly recommend you guys watch it. Because, again, like I said, before I almost got off track there, are there going to be some names on there that he's going to list off that he could see potentially, if not legitimately, jump to AEW that we're all going to agree upon? Absolutely. When people say Owen Steen is AEW bound at the end of his contract at the start of 2022, the end of January, and they say, oh, he's AEW bound, I believe it. Unless some kind of strange miracle for WWE happens to keep him on board, I can see it. I could see him leaving, and then the first AEW appearance he makes is at Battle of the Belts, or the first, not Battle of the Belts, but at the Revolution pay-per-view. I could see the lights going out. During the main event, if you really want to establish his arrival, coming back up, and there he is. There's Kevin Steen, and he's package pile driving, let's say, Hangman Page, or he's package pile driving Kenny Omega. Whatever the case may be, I could see that. And I do believe someone like Owen Steen will go there. I really do. The same with Gargano if he doesn't decide to stay with WWE. I mean, I could see him showing up. But like I said, if he doesn't show up 6 days after his extension ends to be part of that Diamond Dynamite Battle Royal, I could see him showing up, at the beginning of the year. I could see him showing up at the beginning of the year on the first Dynamite of the TBS era. I can see him showing up there. I can see him showing up at the Battle of the Belts. Heck, I can see him showing up at Winter is Coming. I could see that. I can see him showing up at Winter is Coming. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, Brian, he's not going to be part of the Dynamite Battle Royal. You got to correct yourself there. And I do. You're right. I do have to correct myself. But still, the point I'm getting at is I could see that. I could see him showing up in that time frame of Winter is Coming or the first Dynamite of the TBS era. I can. I could see that happening, and I could see him being involved in the TNT title picture. I really could. You know, the same with Kyle O'Reilly. I could see a storyline where Adam Cole and Bobby Fish attack the Bucks. Adam Cole turns on them. Omega's on the way. Maybe we get an announcement that Omega's coming back sooner than later. And this is enough to trigger Cole and Fish to attack their friends. And then we find out. And then, but then we set up a tag match. Bucks against Fish and Cole. And just like I said with Steen showing up at Revolution, I can see the lights going out. And all of a sudden they come back up and there's Kyle O'Reilly. I can see that. I could see that, and I know a lot of people would love that to happen because then, from a regular tag team perspective, Red Dragon versus the Bucks, as Alyx likes to say, take my money, give it to me, I needs it. So I could see all these. I could see a lot of these names popping up in 2022. Like I said, I could see some of them taking a break before 2022 and debuting. I could see it. Gargano's probably the number one name there. But who else is could show up at the beginning of the year? Well, like I said, the ironicness about some of these releases by WWE, some of them being from the main roster, is, they have 90-day non-compete clause, like I mentioned earlier. And with these 90-day non-compete clause, you could be looking at WWE, calling them up, kissing up to them, saying the right words they want to hear, and getting them to show up for the Rumble matches. I could see that, and I think anybody else could see that. And it would be perfect timing, because that way not only do they get them in the building for the Rumble, but they get them in the building to try to sign them to new contracts. And even though maybe the talent might be reluctant, again, WWE knows how to sweet talk people. They know how to sweet talk people, and they could say, yeah, well, the reason we budget cutted you is because we're paying, the people that's constructing the new WWE headquarters building. Thus, we had to make some sacrifices financially, but we didn't really want to do that, but we had no choice. That's the excuse they can make. And the way they could sweet talk them into coming back is by saying, by basically explaining that since the building is close to completion, they don't have to worry about budget cutting anybody anymore. Again, WWE has a way with words, and the timing is perfect when it comes to the 90-day non-compete clause to get people as part of the Rumble. But will they? Will they do that? Will that happen? Or will these men and women that they try to call to come back to be part of the Rumble turn them down and say, we don't trust you. We don't trust you because you're liars. You're a bunch of liars. And instead decide to go to AEW or Impact. Honestly, the situation with Lee and WWE right now, I could see Lee saying, no, thank you. I appreciate it, but I don't trust you. I'm going to go to AEW. I can see that. I can see Mia Yim being the same way. I don't trust you. I'm going to AEW. I could see that. So a lot of these names he's going to talk about, I agree with. And again, like I said, I'm sure people like the Strike Daddy, Jeff, of OTR Central would agree with. Jason Solomon would agree with. JD, Aaron Rift, Sean Ross Sapp himself, would all, Chris Van Pleet would also agree with. Because, if WWE is trying to, as some fans are speculating, wipe out wipe out the legacy of Triple H and his original vision of NXT and his original potential vision for the future of the company as a whole, then by letting all these men and women go after the contract are gone, some that, like I said, Alyx will name off, just to make way for their vision, or just to teach Triple H a lesson of, hey, when we tell you to take somebody down, you take somebody down, then yeah, I can agree that a lot of these names could show up. Like I said, Kevin Steen, I could see showing up during the main event or the closing of the main event of Revolution and making an impact there. I could see O'Reilly, if he decides to leave, going and showing up during a tag match between the Bucks, between Cole, Fish, and the Bucks, if once we get to that point, and he helps Cole and Fish win. I could see that. I could see all that. I could see Johnny, 6 days after its extension's over, debuting at Winter is Coming, in the crowd or as part of some kind of match. Or I could see him taking a break and debuting on the first TBS, showcase of AEW Dynamite or even Battle of the Belts. I could see that. I could see Keith Lee turning down WWE and showing up at Revolution for the Casino Battle Royal as the Joker. I could see that. You see, all these possibilities potentially could and probably will happen if what Alyx and others that do these kind of videos, from their opinion, their point of view, could see happening based on the way things have been going on. But what do you guys think? Do you think that when you see this video, and I will put it at the end of this here, that when you see this video, do you think you'll be agreeing with a lot of what Alyx has to say? I'll tell you honestly, I think myself and, like I said, people like Jeff Siegel, the Shrek Daddy of OTR Central, Jason Solomon, JD, Chris Van Pleep, Sean Rossap, I think a lot of us will agree with most of his, theories and speculations on who he sees going and how they'll debut. I really do. I really see a lot of us, including myself, agreeing with these perspectives. And I see a lot of us probably replying. I can see myself replying to him in a video. I can. Job schedule, allowing, if you will, because I'm going to be working again soon. But yeah, I can see it happening. But what do you guys think? Are you looking forward to Alyx's video? I know I am. So I'm gonna, and like I said, I'm gonna put the video at the link at the end here. But what do you guys think? Comment below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at my Teespring store for a lot of merchandise in time for the holidays. Also check me out at BW Rosas on Patreon.com to support me there. Also check me out at BW Rosas on Vimeo and Venmo at Brian-Walmart-2 to help support there as well. But again, guys, I just wanted to do this video to not only recommend you guys to check out Alyx's video on the top 10 WWE superstars he sees jumping to AEW in 2022, but also kind of give you my opinion on who I think he's going to really focus on and how he may see them debuting, possibly being similar to how I could see them debuting. But what are you guys' thoughts? What do you think overall? Comment if you like, live chat during the premiere, and I am out.